The sword made the emblem of power and prowess. When Muhammad proclaimed that the sword is the key to heaven and of hell, he only echoed a Japanese sentiment. Very early, the samurai boy learned to wield it. It was a momentous occasion for him when, at the age of 5, he was apparelled in the paraphernalia of samurai costume, placed upon a go board, and initiated into the rites of the military profession by having thrust into his girdle a real sword instead of the toy dirk with which he had been playing. After this first ceremony of adopto per arma, he was no more seen to be outside his father's gates without his badge of status, his sword. Oh, like we've got a call already. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Yo, I'm from Canada. I go by Cypher on crypto.
All right, Cypher. What are your thoughts today on Bitcoin? Start us out right here.
Hey, man, we're going in some crazy directions lately, but what about all the good news that's coming out? It's coinciding with the Coinbase custody. The Indian thing came out after that. There's too much good stuff going on to be scared about what the price is doing. I mean, people who got in at the top are scared, clearly.
Certainly. And if you're thinking long term, right, you're thinking like next year, are we still going to be using Bitcoin? Are we going to be excited about the Lightning Network? Definitely.
Yeah.
Do I know what the price is next year? I don't know what the price is next month. So we'll have to see how that goes. But agree with you. The technology is key.
Dominance of Bitcoin is Bitcoin declining in interest? Are we still at the beginning of the hype bubble before it goes to 6 trillion and then back down to 1 trillion? I believe that that's more or less the case, considering you just look at everything around us, the people and the comments, and then the media's and the government involvement. It's crazy. It's clear indication about what's going to happen.
Well, I agree. And there's often lulls in new technologies like this. Sure, Bitcoin was really popular in December, and sure, we're not doing so great now, but it could come back, basically. I mean, Bitcoin's, maybe it was a fad for a little while. People were talking about it. It was, in the media, but it could get back in the media as well. JW Weatherman was making some strong points yesterday for the HODL argument. He was saying, what if Amazon accepted Bitcoin tomorrow? Now, sadly, I don't think that's happening tomorrow, but 6 months, a year from now, 2 years from now, if the Lightning Network can really show its strength, if Bitcoin can become transactional currency again, Amazon, other online retailers are going to look at it again, and there could be another burst of articles reversing this trend. I feel right now, though, trading-wise, it's just some kind of bear trend has overtaken the market, and maybe it's going to overtake the altcoin markets as well, I think. We'll talk more about that. A lot of people are saying decoupling these days. That's the new decoupling is the new blockchain. It's the new distributed ledger tech. Go ahead.
That's one of my first things that I was going to say. It just brings to mind a few projects, and I could name drop, doesn't really matter. One of them has an agreement with a bank to pretty much do the same thing. Now, I keep saying that to them. Are you going to remove the BTC pair once you have the fiat-backed tokenization crap you got going on? And, it's all still up in the air. Who knows how it's going to evolve? Really having it written down on paper and seeing how it cycles, we're at such a branch in choices right now. It's impossible to pick which one, even if you see the different choices. There's like 50. It could do anything at this point. We have to see what Tether's going to explode, if the main masses are going to start using the alternative sources like the MakerDAO and the TUSD. We got to stop using Tether. Everyone needs that.
Well, that's easy for me because I never started using Tether. I wasn't a fan of it when it came out, but remember, ordinary small people can't affect these things. Large people with lots of money want to do things like Tether. It's so funny to see Tether exploding in our faces. At the same time, Circle is ready to do USDC, and I believe that Bittrex has just started taking USD as well. So this does keep being developed, this idea that you have to put your trust in something around a cryptocurrency. And you do to do certain applications like trading or things like that. There's not the decentralized exchanges are getting there. BISC and things like that are getting better. But you do have to trust if you're going to have a stable backed coin that somebody is holding whatever it's backed by. And that just
Yeah.
complicates things so much. When I hold a little bit of Bitcoin, I'm holding the Bitcoin and that is the value. And that's that.
We at least we in that solution with Tether, we need the different companies are going to take place. They have to be more transparent than that, because that's where all the craziness comes from. Is them canceling the third party audits, and that really stemmed all these problems. They just would have went through with that and not print. Everyone's just thinking that they printed out too much, and they're the main cause of Bitcoin being pumped up. There's been some great graphs showing the day that 300 million Tether were printed, and then we went up another 1,500 points in Bitcoin.
Yep, and people have been talking about this, and we mentioned the Bitfinex story and the Tether story and the Poland Colombian drug connection story. We talked about all of this, but nobody really realized what it could mean for the price, and that this isn't a technical thing that happened to the Bitcoin price. If what they're saying is true, it's not because of the charts and the lines and the graphs. It's because of this insider, potentially insider trading, taking Tether, an asset that they owned, printing a bunch of them, buying the altcoins, driving their price up, selling the altcoins for Bitcoin, driving its price up, selling the Bitcoin for dollars, and repeating the cycle. If they were doing this on a large scale, it's similar to the Mt. Gox bots with Willie and Marcus, where they were trading back and forth against each other, driving the price up to 1,200. Then we went back to 200 for like 2 years after that. So I'm not saying we're going to 200, but I don't feel as bullish as I used to about the price, at least in the short term. I like the technology, and I think long term we're great.
Sorry to cut you off, but nobody mentions in that point when it went down from a set 12 to 1 or whatever, and it stayed there for 2-year winner. Nobody really talks about the fact that there was not a lot of podcasts, YouTube videos. People were silently watching Bitcoin price at that point. Things are definitely in a different evolution state, where I believe it will definitely be a year. We've already been through almost half a year now of a down market, which is crazy to think about it as time flies.
Does seem crazy. It moved really fast. And yeah, I remember that time people stopped doing shows. We kept doing some shows here, but I told everyone when we kind of peaked in January there, I was like, well, I guess it's time to get jobs. And I went to San Francisco and got a job at a Bitcoin startup, and then worked at another Bitcoin startup. And that took a lot of my time, so I couldn't do as many shows as I'd like to. But yeah, we kept it going and people kept it going. But like you're saying, it was about erasing it from your mind. You delete your Blockfolio app, you delete your Bitcoin tracker, Bitcoin ticker, all that stuff gone. Don't look at the price. I mean, yes, like one Bitcoin is one Bitcoin. You're going to hold your value. But if you look at the price all day, you're going to make your mind go crazy. And yeah, I would calculate occasionally how much I'd lost and how much I'd gained and all these kind of things. And yeah, you go crazy. So these down markets are
wrong
tough.
way for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Not looking is the right way to go. So
you guys talk about different altcoins on your show at all?
sometimes, but mostly we're into Bitcoin. They call us Bitcoin maximalists. I think it's supposed to be an insult, but I don't really see it that way.
No, I mean, Bitcoin's the way to go, but when we talk about untethering, we're really thinking about, is Bitcoin going to be the one, or is it going to be one of these other choices that come up to make it easier for mass adoption? And really, I mean, with Lightning Network and all the things that the Bitcoin core team does, it's hard to be forward thinking when all these other projects say that they can do this and that. Like, there's no real outline for what Bitcoin might do. So we really think it's going to be a comparison between certain hybrid blockchains. And I'm not going to say the name, but I've been really looking into different privatized ones that also have public blockchains. They're going to try to interconnect the two.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested in new projects. I like new technology, but for me, I really think Bitcoin's going to be the one and is going to carry through. I think that the Lightning and the Layer 2 technology is a solution to the scaling problem. And I think the problem with a lot of the altcoins is you can say, I mean, during the scaling debate, Roger Ver famously bought, I don't know, $100,000 worth of Dash and moved it from one wallet to the other. And because no one was using the Dash network, it cost him $1 to move it or whatever. And he was bragging about how great it was. But if Dash had the same traffic that Bitcoin had, Dash would have crashed. He wouldn't have been able to move that money at all. So you really have to look into the numbers. And to me, it's a lot like with the internet. There's this thing TCP/IP, and that created the backbone of the internet. And there was other competitors, and they thought they'd have to replace TCP/IP with something else, and things kept coming along. But the core engineers who worked on TCP/IP kept it going, and it bent, but it didn't break. And because of this, it's still the backbone for the internet. So I think with a protocol, with a network effect, uh, not just having the lead, but having the best minds working on it, having the best solutions, and also having the most difficult problems creates a unique thing that I think makes Bitcoin more valuable and the strongest one. But
It is too. Well, and you can't really compare. You can't compare Zinfin, Lambda Tau, or any of these other protocol coins that nobody knows about to, let's say, Neo and the big names we got. So you know, we even hear about ontology. It takes over being a protocol coin. There's way too much stuff going on. There's to talk about the big crash coming. The big
all right, we seem to be losing your audio, but thanks so much for the call. Give us a call anytime. And like he was talking about, there's a difference between Bitcoin and these other coins. And it's okay to be interested in altcoins. We've been discussing this in the chat today. We were talking during Andy's show with a couple of the guys in the chat, and they were saying that it's okay to buy altcoins to make more money to buy Bitcoin. And I was saying, sure, that we're fine with that. But once again, I kind of think that buying the Bitcoin's the best bet because I just think technologically, network effect wise, all these other things, that Bitcoin's the best bet. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
This is Dan from Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Hey, Dan, how's it going? What are you thinking about Bitcoin today?
So I think one of the things that I've been most concerned about lately is this. There sort of seems to be a can't fail attitude amongst Bitcoiners that I know, and crypto people for that matter. And I feel like, you know, it's kind of the same mentality as the last U.S. presidential election, where people stay at home because they go, there's nothing to worry about. The price might go low, but it'll be fine. And, you know, I think there are ways it can fail. And, you know, I used to hear everybody say, well, this can all go to zero any day. And I don't hear that anymore. And I think there needs to be a bit more of a sense of urgency to say, hey, maybe we shouldn't distract ourselves with these other projects. And, you know, one of the things that Weatherman talks about sometimes is this idea of people wasting their time on these other projects when they could be doing a project against Bitcoin and actually, you know, make the world a better place instead of just saying, hey, I'm going to do one of these one-offs or something like that. And I don't know. It's just, I don't know if people realize that if Bitcoin fails, everything fails. I can't imagine a world where Bitcoin goes to zero. I mean, because honestly, at this point, if it goes under 1,000, miners will start coming offline. Block times will skyrocket way up, and who knows? It might take 100 years to find the next block. And so there's a chance, no matter how small, that the whole thing can be kind of pointless, right? So I don't know. I just think that it's a little more scary than people want to believe. And we need a little bit more focus on Bitcoin and less focus on making money.
Well, I think this is a good argument, Dan. Oops. Sorry, I'm going to cut you off. We're echoing back. But yeah, I think Dan had a lot of good points. People used to talk all the time about the potential of it going to zero. And that's, I still don't think that zero, it's tough for me to envision zero as a possibility. When John Oliver said recently that it could go to zero, I thought he was fudding a little bit. And I like John Oliver, even if he's going to make fun of Bitcoin and be jokey about it. I get that. But as far as zero, there are ways that Bitcoin could fail. There are ways that this whole crypto system, this could be the wrong one. That could be Bitcoin 2 or Bitcoin 3. And I agree with Dan. We used to talk about this much more in the past. We haven't really talked about it much lately. The ICOs, the making money, the Ethereum, the competition. Everyone thinks that their new Bitcoin is the best Bitcoin. And I agree with what Dan mentioned about Weatherman, where he said that maybe you're wasting your time if you're working on another project. And maybe in a way, you're taking your brilliance away from Bitcoin. And there's different reasons for that. I think it's hard to work on the Bitcoin project because a lot of smart people are already working on it and you don't know where you can fit in. You don't know what the right thing for you to do is. Whereas one of these smaller projects might not have anybody or have anybody smart at all. So you can lead the smaller project. I think it comes back to what Milton said, where is it better to rule in hell than to serve in heaven? And it's tough. I go both ways on that. Rulership has its privileges. It's certainly a quality thing, but serving and working together to make a better project does have a good cause to it. That has a good feeling. But is I think that the mainstream Bitcoin, the thing that people talk about, all of that, like Dan saying, I believe it kind of has lost its way. They say recently, I believe the new people, the speculators, outweigh the old people that might have a political axe to grind or have an interest in censorship resistance. And that's why when we see such adoption and such love for these new projects, and you kind of poke at them a little, like, why do you need a blockchain? Or why is it centralized? Or why did you pre-mine it? And they kind of shrivel and they don't have a good answer. But yet the fanboys keep supporting it. And I think we've seen that a lot in politics too. Somebody mentioned politics, and I hate to go back there, but a lot of what's happened in politics recently is that you don't look at the evidence anymore. You have your preconceived notion that you believe this, something happens, and you continue believing what you believe. I don't know how good that is for our society. If something happens, you need to change your mind based upon the information that happened. But I guess people would argue that it could be a false flag event or something like that. Maybe it's all a fraud. So it gets really complicated. But I think there's a lot to talk about there. And I think if you'd like to call in now on Skype, World Crypto Network, let us know what you think about what Dan said. Has Bitcoin lost its way? Could it go to zero? Are we focusing on the right things? I think the Bitcoin project is such an important goal. I think it's more important than putting stocks onto the Ethereum blockchain. I thought that our goal is kind of to stop money printing, to have Bitcoin be the last time we printed money, and we give that system a try, see how that works for the world. And I think in a lot of ways, that works better with the conservationist idea of the planet, the idea that we have a limited amount of resources and we have to use them wisely, and we might even need renewable resources. Bitcoin has a limited amount of Bitcoin, and it teaches you to save. In a way, the more you save, the more Bitcoin you have. Price of Bitcoin goes up and down, sure, but the more you save, the more you have, and there's always less Bitcoin. You got to collect them all, right? But this also saving is more of a conservationist attitude, whereas the capitalist system has more of a growth attitude. The system must constantly grow, and growing uses resources, burns fossil fuels, pollutes the environment, destroys rivers, whatever, at any cost, because growth is so important. You must have growth. So let's see. Max wants to call in and talk Austrian economics. Give us a call, Max. You can try to explain it to us. We'll listen. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, Thomas. It's me again, Max from Germany. How are you doing? I love the show so far.
Doing good. Welcome to the show, Max. What did you think about what Dan said? Has Bitcoin lost its way? Are our goals more important than maybe the goals of the altcoins?
I think he brought up really, really interesting points, and I agree with him in many regards. And I think it's really important that we keep true to the original cypherpunk and libertarian-minded ways that are at the core of Bitcoin itself.
And how can we do that? How can we convince these new people who maybe got into Bitcoin at 18K because it was going to 25K, no problem, and now they're underwater and they don't know what to do, and maybe they're losing faith in the Bitcoin technology?
Well, I think the important thing to realize is that those people, at least they are interested in Bitcoin. At least they bought it. At least there is something there that interests them. And what we have here is a beautiful technology and a beautiful philosophy and ideology of freedom behind it. And our argument is good. And freedom is a compelling argument. And freedom is the one goal that I think we can all, surround ourselves under. And all we need to do is give them the information and give them the opportunity to do their own research and do their own due diligence. Because of course they shouldn't trust us. We cannot just tell them something and then make them believe that it's the truth. No, they have to verify it for themselves and do their research and read all the books and all the articles and all the old mailing lists that describe that philosophy and the ideology.
So you'd probably say that you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him think.
Absolutely.
I would,
Yes.
but Max, would you agree? Would you say that something about Bitcoin? Now, I think Bitcoin's basically a set of rules, right? There's 21 million Bitcoins. You can send them one direction. They can't be canceled. We never roll back the chain. These basic rules of Bitcoin, do they keep the freedom? Do they keep the values inside it so that even these new people with their values of fear of missing out, getting rich quick, stocks and bonds and buying and selling and these kind of things, will the values reach them? Are they going to stay embedded in Bitcoin?
Well, Bitcoin doesn't necessarily define itself by those values. It defines itself by consensus. And if the consensus right now is at the $21 million Bitcoin cap, and yes, right now this is a hard rule, and it at this moment cannot be changed because the main consensus is not wavering. But if we have Keynesian economists coming into this market, which I think is one of the biggest threats to Bitcoin, a economic attack, and if those economic ideals of statism and control of the monetary supply creep into Bitcoin, and if the vast majority of new people coming into the system believe that this is the way to go, then consensus may shift. And if consensus shift, then anything can be changed with a hard fork. It's as easy as that. And as long as the hard fork has main consensus, then the new rules will be put forth. And this is why it is so important that even the newcomers have to understand the economic aspects of Bitcoin. And those are mainly Austrian economic theories.
I would agree with that. And I would say that, yeah, I think there are a lot of Keynesians coming in, and I think that it kind of terrifies them to think about a system with Bitcoin. When I talk about things like Bitcoin will stop people from printing money, so you can't buy tanks and weapons and airplanes because of the extreme cost. It's usually done through money printing. Uh, they get terrified because that also means we can't stop or help after natural disasters. We can't print money for that. We can't print money for roads or dams or bridges or any of the infrastructure things. So that would change everything. So I see these people come to Bitcoin and say, yes, maybe we should have some inflation. Maybe we should print some new Bitcoins. This will keep the miners going longer. It'll keep the mining reward going longer. There's a lot of fear that after 2140, although it isn't really our problem, after 2140, no one will mine Bitcoin because there won't be any reward. So at that point, the Keynesian might win. They might print some more Bitcoin. I don't know. But like you say, it would be a hard fork. So it would be a copy of Bitcoin. The original Bitcoin Classic would still be there. But if everyone does agree and they all decide in mass that the only way to keep Bitcoin going is to print more, or I don't know why, some other reason you have to do it to print more, I see them, they could pull it off. They could print more. So it's interesting to remember that it's consensus, like Max says. It's consensus that's bringing Bitcoin together.
Yes, and the interesting thing when arguing with a Keynesian is that he cannot explain Bitcoin. Keynesian economics, they cannot grasp why Bitcoin has value, why Bitcoin is a phenomenon. And especially because it has this hard limited cap. And they view from the outside that this high volatility that we have in Bitcoin is the effect of the limited supply, of the inflexible supply. And they will argue that we will have much greater stability in the price of Bitcoin, and that will be much better for the overall economy. But that is absolutely 100% wrong. The price volatility, the volatility in Bitcoin, although it is a bit annoying that we just, reached the 20,000 and now crash down under the 6,000 mark again. Yes, this sucks, but this is not the main problem. We can calculate with those volatilities. It was clear, that we're going to crash. But the more important part is that the inflation rate, the new money that is being printed, that has to be calculated. Because if that changes, one Bitcoin is no longer one Bitcoin. That is the most important part.
Very true, Max. Very true. Thanks so much for your call. Give us a call anytime. And I think you gave us a lot to talk about here.
Well, thank you, Thomas, for having me, and keep on with the great show.
Thanks so much. And you can give us a call right now live on World Crypto Network, all one word, on Skype. And what do you think about what Max said, the economic aspects of Bitcoin, the fact that it's focused on consensus and that currently we all agree 21 million Bitcoins, A-OK. In the future, they might change their mind. We don't know. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hey, Thomas, it's Ricardo. I'm calling back from Paris. I just wanted to talk to you about one thing that I've been thinking about with crypto lately.
All right, go ahead, Ricardo. What's on your mind?
Okay, well, I agree with what Max is talking about in the prior call from Canada. I completely, there's so much, if you look at the numbers, there's so much technical aspects and there's so much, political and all the, technical stuff. But if you just dumb it down, I think that Bitcoin has reached a point where it's just a mass emotion and everybody has their own, fire or love or fear or doubt in the whole thing. And so I personally think that's why everybody's talking about it, because it's literally the one thing that causes human consciousness to wake up is fear, or love, those two emotions, those two strongest emotions. And that's why people are wondering, is this thing going to go down? Is this thing, and when it does go down, is where is it going to be? And so there's so much fear right now and uncertainty. And those who, support it 100%, they're the ones that, even if we were going up, or even if we were in an up market, or if we were back where we were in December, you'd still have that, it's just a different mindset. And people don't understand that this is all emotion in Bitcoin right now. And that's why it's getting so much attention right now. And I think that's why everybody's so uncomfortable, because they don't know how to deal with the fear, because they're not sure personally. And I've just been noticing that a lot, that it's been coming up in a lot of different media that doesn't usually come up in. So that's very interesting to research.
I think it is a lot about emotion. It's about how people feel, especially think about people on the outside, people that don't have any bit at all. They see all these people getting rich and they say, WTF, that doesn't make any sense. Why is that happening? Then on the other hand, they see right now everyone getting poor and they say, of course, that's what should be happening. And I think there's probably a third act. I don't know if it starts in 3 months or 6 months or a year, but a third act where everybody gets rich again. And these people on the outside are going to say, what's going on? And the thing here that I think is true is that Bitcoin is valuable. Bitcoin's a valuable thing. and that more and more people and banks and other people are going to learn about that, and then they're going to have no choice but to buy Bitcoin. And the more that that happens, yeah.
Absolutely. Sorry to cut you off. Keep going.
Sure, go ahead.
Oh, anyways, so I was just saying, I agreed. I completely agree with you on that point. But so those of us who are holding it and buying in, you know, dollar cost averages, I've been looking at as well, because that's what I've been doing. If we're sitting at the bottom of December again, and this is going to be, you know, it could go whatever it's going to go. But what I'm saying is that this is I mean, if we're looking up at everything that's going to happen, and we're just sitting at the bottom, even if we're not buying in, this is a great chance to share the knowledge or do more research for yourself. Because yeah, there are, like the guy said 2 calls ago, there are so many platforms coming in, but we shouldn't be focusing on, you know, these new things that I personally just look at it. And honestly, what I see when I see these ICOs, new coins, new platforms, it's a lot of marketing, and the marketing is incredible. Like, you look at these websites and it's like, yeah, of course, if you don't know anything about it, of course you buy into it because it looks incredible. Even if and that's just what it is. And so I think we need to definitely sit down and look at Bitcoin as a universal international market for those who, you know, obviously are trading about it, but like, we should be utilizing it. And that's why it's not, I believe that's why it's not dominating as much as it usually is because people don't know how to utilize it. And so what that does is it leaves an open market for people who know how to trade it. Big, you know, big traders, futures. And so that's a quite interesting, you were saying that about earlier, is like, it's big players, you know, and the people who are small, if it's really low and they're playing with it and they're dropping it, this is your chance to dollar cost average right now. You're looking at it. And if you're not doing it, then you're missing the point. So I don't know, just a lot of emotion behind it.
There's definitely a lot of emotion going on, and dollar cost averaging is the right way to go. And I agree with you. There's a lot of uses for Bitcoin, but people aren't seeing it yet. Sadly, it looks like one of the major uses for Bitcoin seems to be continuing scams. We have various scams, ICO scams. We have various just take the money scams, charity scams. And then now we seem to have this tether scam. And it's unfortunate that something so great like Bitcoin is being used by these base people to do such weak things.
Well, in your argument for how much you appreciate Bitcoin, and I clearly appreciate now after listening to you more often, that's the biggest argument, is that it's the core, you know, and that's why no matter what these other coins go up, you don't know where these coins are. There could be just big players who just have a lot of money who just create a coin and just put a chunk of money on there, and it just looks good, but it's nothing, you know. And if you look at the graphs, Bitcoin is what it is, and I really appreciate it. And I think that people just need to hold on tight and just relax. I mean, there's a lot of emotion behind it, but I think it's because people haven't made their minds up themselves of where they stand. And those who have, they're not worried. This is just another. This is a time to buy in. But those who knew, and even those who have been in a couple of years, this, if you look back, sit back and look at this, this is a great time. You should be sitting happy with your, you know, your wallet, and just, I would recommend educating other people and maybe taking a break if it's really emotional right now in the market. And yeah, there's a lot of new things coming in, but we don't know anything until Bitcoin goes up or does what it's going to do.
I would agree with that. I think there's a lot of emotion going on right now, and if people need to take a break, that's the right thing to do. And I know people are bummed in the chat that I had to sell some Bitcoin, but basically what happened to me, and I want to teach this as a lesson for other people to learn, is when Bitcoin went crazy up, I didn't sell any. So when things go crazy up, you have to sell some, even if you love them a lot, because those things go crazy down too. So yeah.
Yeah. That's, yeah, a lot of people don't know that, and a lot of people don't understand that, but that's what I did. I mean, when it was in December, I had just gotten in December. When I saw that thing go up, it's like, if you didn't take action, that's not anybody's fault, and it's not a fault within yourself. It's just a learning curve you know, it's what you want to call it, but you just didn't take action when you should have. And it's like any other thing in the world, you know, just, you know, but in the sense, learn from your mistakes, right? And explain to others what you're doing so that way they don't make the same mistake. That's what I try to do, you know?
Exactly, exactly. And I think just going forward, having a little less invested, but still having some Bitcoins is the right decision for me. For other people, if you have a job and you can continue dollar cost averaging, you don't
Absolutely.
have to worry. I mean,
You should
it's a
have
different
money.
situation.
I say recommend, my personal opinion, you should have 3 sources of income, no matter what. That way, if one falls out, you got 2. If 2 fall out, you have 1. And that way you can just, you don't, I see time as more valuable than money. And so
Definitely.
this is my opinion, but I agree with you. You shouldn't put all your eggs in one basket, and definitely get some return in invested interest on what you're investing into.
Sure, and even for me, I've been in this so long. You know, I sold for profit. As hard as it is, you know, sometimes you have to sell. And personally, when Bitcoin starts going down, the views on these videos go down, the donations go down, the Patreon goes down. So you know, a bear market for me is something hard. And I rode through the last one with some jobs, and I had to do less shows. And I'd rather ride through this one doing what I want to do, which is shows, reading books, writing, things like that, things that I'm interested in. And I'm going to do that as long as I can. And Bitcoin can help me do that. And sometimes it helps, sometimes it hurts. But we're just going to have to see how this goes. I think we're in a bear market.
Absolutely.
You know?
Well, Tom, so it's been really nice talking to you. Again, I just wanted to say it's all about emotion, and you know, you feel that when you're in it. And whether or not something's going bad in your life or situations are bad, it's how you take it, you know, and that's in the end what your real character is how you take the emotion. So hey, whatever.
Thanks so much, Ricardo, for the call. Give us a call anytime.
Cheers, Thomas. Peace.
Bye-bye. All right, and you can give us a call on Skype at World Crypto Network, all one word. And yeah, I've seen people in the chat, they say I'm fudding Bitcoin or I want it to go down so I can go back in. Yeah, that's a possibility, but I don't think I'm overtly doing that. I just think in general that it keeps going down and I had to pull the ripcord at some point. But if you have a job and you're dollar cost averaging and your investment isn't your entire life savings and those kind of things, you can wait this out. I think, you know, we'll go down and we'll come back up. But how long it will take, I don't know. And then also, we're still waiting for the entire market to understand this Tether news. We didn't really get to go over the news because we had a lot of calls right away. If you'd like to give us a call, we'll do that. Otherwise, we'll do some news. Bitcoin is dropping again after weekend plunge, down another 5% on price manipulation concern. And this is the mainstream media. This is the #1 story about Bitcoin now. They're all going to be writing it and they're all going to be spreading it around. This is going to affect Bitcoin and all the altcoins. And we just got to hold on and see how it goes. And if you have to adjust your portfolios, you have to adjust your portfolios. But Coinbase or CoinDesk, Bitcoin prices stabilize above 6K, but will they stay? The leading cryptocurrency fell to 6108 around 1630 UTC time yesterday on Bitfinex, its lowest level since February 6th, bolstering the already oversold conditions shown by the daily relative strength index. Hence, the subsequent recovery to 6,500 levels currently is hardly surprising and indicates that Bitcoin may have found a temporary bottom around 6,100. However, long-run technical setup remains bearish, and the battered bulls will want to see stronger evidence of bear exhaustion before hitting the market with fresh bids. That seems how I feel. And going down to the view, skipping all this, Bitcoin seems to have made a temporary low at 6109 and may trade sideways in the next 48 hours or so. The probability of a corrective rally to 7,000 and above would rise if the price holds above 64.25, the April 1st low, for the next 24 hours. Bearish scenario: repeated failure to hold above 6,425, despite the bullish RSI price divergence seen in the 4-hour chart, could yield a drop to 6,000. A daily close below that level would open up downside toward the $5,000 mark. So looking at Bitcoin right now, it's 63.72. So it would be below the 64.25 that he says is an important number. If we look at Bitcoin right here, it did spend some time above this 64.25. But if you look right here, it looks like it's broken back below that number. So based upon the information provided by CoinDesk, we might be seeing a continuation of the downtrend. But you never know. I wanted to say it again. I talked about it last night, but maybe you weren't here last night. William Shatner's new enterprise, a solar-powered Bitcoin mining farm in southern Illinois. Very cool. Even if he's only really putting his name on it. Mr. Shatner doesn't seem to know anything about Bitcoin. He said some cool stuff in Captain Kirk words. He said, "The concept is so, I guess, bizarre. You have to blank your mind and say, what is blockchain again? How does mining operate again? These concepts are really strange, and yet, when you begin to grasp it, it makes sense." So congratulations to Mr. Shatner for investing in some kind of Bitcoin mining farm. Stephen Bannon buys into Bitcoin. This is a story that's going to ignite both sides of the aisle here, right? Steve Bannon, advisor to President Trump, main character of the book Fire and Fury by Michael Wolff, controversial figure, is now betting that Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies can disrupt banking the way that Mr. Trump disrupted American politics. Mr. Bannon won't reveal much about his cryptocurrency plans. ICO. Bullshit. He worries that the controversy that comes around his name could have a bad impact on projects just getting off the ground. That's certainly right. I would be hard-pressed to invest in a Bannon project unless you were ideologically agreeing with him, and then you'd be like, all right, Bannon project, good to go. But very dramatic story. Let me know what you think about it on the chat or the calls. Steve Bannon buys into Bitcoin. And it looks like we have a couple more people trying to call in. So if you'd like to call us now on Skype at World Crypto Network, otherwise we'll move on to the next news story. There's a new Bitcoin core in town, and it's out to troll Bitcoin Cash. Funny story from CoinDesk. We talked about this a few days ago with when Samson Mao was on the Bitcoin group. A new currency called Bitcoin Core, BTCC, it's a fork of Bitcoin Cash. How confusing. And apparently Bitcoin Cash had a hard fork and created a new project called Bitcoin Classic. Then they had another hard fork, and that created a new project called Bitcoin Core. Hello, caller, you're live on the... Oh, did it work? No, it didn't work. Okay, maybe next time. We'll give it another try. I'm accepting a couple more people on Skype. Just give us a call, and we'll put you on the air. But they're talking about BTCC. We are the cool cousin that's a good wingman, unlike the other one, hating and trying to steal your girl. I don't know what that means, but it's fantastic. So Bitcoin Core has made it his mission to point Bitcoin Cash as the real Bitcoin. Very often renames Bitcoin as Bitcoin Core. Even so, going so far as to label Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin Core on his website, bitcoin.com. And yeah, it's obviously designed to confuse new investors. It's deceptive. It's weak sauce. It's bad arguing. Just the very fact that you're trying to steal the name destroys any technical value of the Bitcoin Cash project. Let's say that like Bitcoin Cash, solved cancer or something tomorrow. How would you know that it was Bitcoin Cash? You'd probably think it was Bitcoin that solved cancer. That's why you don't take the name of another project, unless you're trying to fool people into thinking that they're the same project, which is so tired and so awful. Trying to fool people into buying your coin. Or at least when I tell people to buy Bitcoin, they buy Bitcoin. I don't tell them to buy Bitcoin and then sell them Litecoin. That's ridiculous. So The original Bitcoin Core website trolled Ver by arguing that BTCC is in fact the currency Bear was talking about when he speaks about the real Bitcoin. Even the cryptocurrency's main block explorer is called True Vision of Satoshi, a reference to a tagline that many Bitcoin Cash supporters have taken to. And the team behind BTCC has poked fun at notable Bitcoin Cash supporters, including John McAfee, the brash entrepreneur who made his money off antivirus software, and now shills crypto tokens on Twitter for a price. That's from the article. That's verbatim from the article. That is a bold accusation. Probably also happens to be true. I think they had some leaked things that you could get on Coin of the Day he was doing for a while, and you could get Coin of the Day for $180,000. Your coin could be the coin of the day or something like that. Sounds like a great deal. Trolling, blah, blah, blah. BTCC is getting lots of attention because people love trolling, and they're having a debate about branding because Bitcoin Cash was called Bcash because it's a shorter name. He's trying to say the war was started when those opposed to Bitcoin Cash started calling it Bcash. That's like the United States of America started a war because someone called it USA instead of United States of America. Please use the full title. It's ridiculous. That's a brand issue. Like, sure, Jeff Bezos said everyone should call Amazon Amazon.com because people won't get it. They'll think that there's some other Amazon. Then eventually he relaxed and he chilled out and they start calling it Amazon now because they're so ubiquitous. In the same way, Bcash is a shorter name for Bitcoin. You can say it's an insult, but I think B-trash is an insult. Bcash is an abbreviation. And if you don't know the difference, you should look them up. Insult is a derogatory term. Abbreviation is a shorter term. Shorter. It's okay. You guys will get it. Small blocks, large blocks, big word. Small blocks, short word. It's all right. We'll keep working on it. Don't count on a Bitcoin rebound from the weekend rout anytime soon, chart analysis say. The downtrend that began in early May is still intact and will need to be reversed to signal an improvement for BTC, says Fundstrat's Robert Schlumer. Bitcoin fell more than 10% over to the weekend to a low of 6,647 on Sunday. To Nomura's Institute, that is some confusing words. I have no idea what any of this means, but Mr. Frank Caparelli says that Bitcoin needs to gain around 28% from current levels for a rally to hold. So it doesn't start to look good. So keep an eye on that. Bitcoin hasn't hit bottom, cryptocurrency trader says. Cryptocurrency trader Ron Nair says Bitcoin hasn't bottomed yet, but it's still a good time to buy or hold if you believe in the long-term value. As he says, Bitcoin could go to 20, 30, 40, or 50,000. And then no one will care if you bought Bitcoin at $5,000 or $6,000. Comcast offers $65 billion in cash to buy Fox and screw Disney. This isn't normally news that I cover, but it is very interesting to see Disney attempt to reunite the Marvel universe by getting X-Men and Spider-Man back from Fox. But Comcast wants Fox as well because Fox has bought Sky News and has Sky's European market. What's especially interesting about this is the net neutrality implications, as it says here from the article. When the FCC repealed net neutrality last year, its chairman, Ajit Pai, piece of shit, argued that companies like Comcast weren't investing in broadband deployment because of uncertainty caused by regulations. That's proven to be utterly false. But it certainly does seem that Comcast has been socking away a lot of cash. And now that net neutrality is officially off the books, it's using that cash to improve its networks and serve the American people, or actually to gobble up Fox and become an even bigger media megacorp. So removing net neutrality has led the strategy of these ISPs that are also content providers You're not just providing internet access or access to cable. You own the movies. You own the TV channels. You're providing access not to the internet. You're providing access to the things that you own. Of course, you're going to make them faster. Of course, you're going to make them better. Of course, you're going to discriminate against other networks. I don't know how you guys can be against net neutrality. It really blows my mind, because it's like we have this thing where we had this beautiful internet and anyone could compete. Then we had these ISPs that are also content providers. They own the pipes, but they also own what's going through the pipes. And we remove the rules that kept them from discriminating. And we think that everything's going to stay the same and be the same. Good luck with that. The FCC says net neutrality cripples investment. That's not true. Straight up, not true. And this is from Wired Magazine, their legit article. So he's saying, yes, net neutrality rules discouraging investments. Actually, no. Internet infrastructure declined 3% and another 2%. Internet providers are delaying new offerings, such as home wireless plans or streaming video services. They're delaying them. They're increasing spending, but mainly to merge with other companies and provide more of their content, which then makes this whole thing worse. So everything's disconnecting. I have no idea if I'm online anymore. I have a fantastic router, a great brand new computer, Wi-Fi built in, but I can't seem to stay online for an hour or two without any troubles. It still says it's on there, but I can't believe it. Let's see. I'll just keep going. Now I'm going to reset this one too. Here it is. Reset the whole thing. Let's see. We're offline. I blame my IT manager. Get me the IT specialist. Let's see. I'm going to try bouncing the internet off and on. We'll see if that does anything. Bitcoin's the most fair money, right? You have a Bitcoin, it stays a Bitcoin. No one can tax you out of your Bitcoin or take it from you. It's the best. William Shatner's a solar miner. You heard it right here. I talked about it not too long ago. Sorry about the internet issues. We had some ups and downs there. He says the Bulls are coming. Does he mean the basketball team? Michael Jordan, very good team. We'll try to refresh this, see if we can get some action going. But Mr. Rogers had a simple set of rules for talking to children. The TV legend possessed an extraordinary understanding of how children make sense of language. Just an incredible article about Mr. Rogers. More and more is being talked about. This guy wrote in a book about Mr. Rogers called The Good Neighbor. That sounds great. There's also going to be the documentary, and then there's going to be the action normal movie with Tom Hanks as Mr. Rogers. Just a great article, talked about how he would change the language to protect the children. He didn't want to say things like putting an animal to sleep because that would make children afraid to go to sleep. He just had such care and concern for what his language could do to children, and he was just such an interesting character. And I really look forward to these documentaries and movies. Might have to read that book. We also have Anthony Bourdain's love letter to Chicago, but we'll save that for later. We were checking out some other articles, and I found on the internet 6 outrageous moments in crypto Twitter scam history from CoinDesk. Nice to see CoinDesk doing a little bit of history, even if it has to come in a list article. But we're talking about the scammers there. She goes through, and look at this right here. Airing frustration towards the chaos that crypto Twitter has devolved into. A well-known cryptocurrency advocate known as Thomas, Mad Bitcoins Hunt, tweeted, "Your system is broken. Allowing users to choose the same name and image as other users is a mistake that leads to fraud. Change your system. End this fraud." But the chaos still continued. Oh, even after Mad Bitcoin said something, chaos still continued. Ha. And then it keeps going about how they're not giving away ETH and all these scams and how they copy people and they look like other people. There's Follow Friday scams where they put the fake posts side by side the people that they're impersonating. So that's pretty interesting. We've seen a lot of these from the Litecoin and the other scams. Iced Cube, 10,000 Ethereum. Scammers also get personal by copying the bios of other people. It copied his name and picture, but the bio was different. He says his scam accounts are getting personal, and scammers calling out scams. This one, the guy from Coin Center, Niraj, said that this scammer was calling out the other scammers and saying that that's not a real, that's not real. Like, he was calling them out. So, and then in a similar instance, an account posing as Bruce Fenton, the thought leader and investor in the cryptocurrency space who founded Satoshi's Roundtable, commented with his own crypto giveaway on the giveaway post from a fake Mad Bitcoins. Speaking to the event, Mad Bitcoins tweeted, "It's a beautiful cycle of spam, Twitter, and you should make it stop. Make it stop." Pretty cool. I was quoted twice in this article. So just wanted to mention that. Also, there's tons of Charlie Shrems, but there's also tons of Mad Bitcoins. When my friend from Australia did that, he said he had at least 100 fake Mad Bitcoins account, maybe more than all the other accounts. Maybe more than all the other accounts combined. Well, maybe the first one's true. But they say, people say, now you've made it on Twitter if you're getting one of these parodies. And a prominent parody account in the space, I love this account, Swift on Security, said after a fraudster impersonated the account, "I've made it. I finally made it." It's very cool. And they're saying that the blue check marks don't work. And yeah, they don't work. And they don't really give them to you either. They used to have a system where you could apply for the blue check mark, but they've taken that away. And now it's a mystery. Some people get blue check marks. Some people don't. Let's see what else is going on. Oh, yeah, the article was translated into Spanish. Oh, this Google ruined it by translating it too fast. Show the original. Here it is. Un defensor de la criptonitas, Lamo Thomas Mad Bitcoins Hunt, dio buenos consejos a Twitter. El usuario escribo en la red una denuncia y recomendación para evitar la confusión de usuarios, lo que generalmente conlleva a estafas. So sorry for the terrible Spanish for people that speak Spanish. I had several years in high school and college, but it didn't take. But that was fun. I also saw this article. It's about Potcoin and its sponsorship of Dennis Rodman Explained, and it was in Vox. And this came out June 12th, so just a couple of days ago. This is pretty cool. So I guess I'm featured in Vox too, because somewhere around here they talk about Mad Potcoins. Let's check it out. Potcoin inspired a YouTube channel called Mad Potcoins, styled after Mad Bitcoins, a popular Bitcoin-themed show. Why, thank you, Vice. A popular. Ooh. The videos, the last of which was published 2 years ago, feature a man wearing a fedora emblazoned with a marijuana leaf, discussing various marijuana and cryptocurrency-related topics. Very cool. Shout out to Mad Potcoins. In a December 2014 video, the man, he has a name. His name is Hubert. He said it before. Discusses the Potcoin Ambassador Program, laments the falling price of Bitcoin, and warns Potcoin users not to hold on to their money there for too long, telling viewers it is a middleman from Bitcoin to fiat currency. Now is not a time to hold positions. It's a time to get and spend Potcoins immediately, he says, explaining that the price and value of the cryptocurrency are irrelevant. So pretty cool, pretty interesting to see this. And yeah, they call him the man, but his name is Mad Potcoins. They could just call him that. But yeah, this is fantastic. Very cool to be featured in Vice. Nice to see Mad Potcoins get some shout outs and get some respect. He did his shows for many years. He had good support from the Potcoin community, I think. But you know how it is. It's a smaller community. And eventually the price went down and things cooled off in the Potcoin community, and he moved on to other projects. But very cool to see a World Crypto Network video and a classic YouTuber like Mad Potcoins recognized in Vox as well. So I really like that. I thought that was fun. And then this is an older article by Kyle Torpy, but I was just searching for mentions, and I saw that he did a little piece about Eric Lombroso, core developer, who was on with Jimmy Song on Hunt's Mad Bitcoin's YouTube channel. So just thought that was pretty cool. And he was doing some quotes from the article. Eric said a lot of things. He talked about how the BIP9 extension was never supposed to be miners voting. It was more of a upgrade signaling device where everyone could say, okay, I'm ready, go for the update, rather than I approve this update or I don't approve this update or that kind of thing. So very interesting to say that it was never designed to be a political system for voting. That was never the intention, and that likely it will never be used that way again. So that was just an old cool article. Good to see Eric quoted and supported, and nice to see Kyle's work, of course. Ripple CEO claims Bitcoin is under control of a small group of miners from China. Check out the awesome Alice in Wonderland inspired art there from Cointelegraph. Nice work. And we covered this a little bit, but Brad Garlinghouse, the CEO of Ripple, one of the richest men in the world, if he was allowed to sell his Ripple, was out there bashing Bitcoin again. This might have been the same bashing that he went down before, and maybe we covered it before, but this article really focused on the Chinese aspect, and I thought it was worth mentioning and discussing. I'll tell you another story that's underreported, but worth paying attention to. Bitcoin is really controlled by China. There are 4 miners in China that control over 50% of Bitcoin. How do we know that China won't intervene? How many companies want to use a Chinese-controlled currency? It's just not going to happen. And it's funny, it sounds like he's always talking about Ripple here, because Ripple is controlled by him. And how many countries want to use a currency controlled by him? And how many companies want to use a currency controlled by him? What did Ripple do that's so much better than any other altcoin? Why couldn't I just make a copy of Ripple? Then I own all the coins, and now my bank or my country or my company or whatever will just use our copy of Ripple, since Ripple is totally centralized. Don't mention that. Don't mention that. Okay. Bad subject for Ripple. But I don't like it when these altcoin CEOs or whatever, I know they have all the PR money, all the marketing money. They can do tons of positive marketing about how great Ripple is. But for some reason, the way they have to tell you how great Ripple is by stepping on Bitcoin. And I think maybe they're a little jealous of Bitcoin. Maybe they're a little envious of Bitcoin, and they just want to take it down a notch. And it's just nonsense. So I just thought we'd mention that again. And it's a great chance to highlight this super fun Alice in Wonderland art. As always, you could donate to this show to support it with Bitcoin right now. Even though the price is down, Bitcoin is still accepted here. And if you don't want to donate Bitcoin because you're hodling it too hard, you can donate with your credit card. That's right, good old-fashioned fiat on patreon.com/worldcrypto or WCN. We have 20 patrons donating $81 a month, and 83 patrons on Mad Bitcoins donating $449 a month. So if you'd like to donate to these shows to keep them going, we've got Bitcoin, we got fiat, we got credit cards, bottle caps, also a cryptocurrency at one point. There was bottle caps, pennies, nickels, lobsters, dimes, hobo nickels. There are so many cryptocurrencies. They're saying there's a long green candle on Bitcoin. Let's check it out. I need to refresh because that's not getting that long. But we're up to, we hit 6503. It's fighting it out. This is an hour-long candle. Let me see if I can get a tighter view for you. Oh, no, that's pretty good on the 15. It's looking like they're not going to be able to fill in the skyscraper, though. What you'd really like to see here, not a chart reading specialist or anything, but what I've learned is that it's better if it's filled in, right? Like this one here is kind of filled in. This one has a big top on it. Different kinds of skyscrapers. And if you disagree, tell me in the chat, and I'll be glad to share your knowledge with everyone. But we're watching the price of Bitcoin. It is live at $6,488. We had a recent low of 6,317 and a recent high of 6,549. Keeping an eye on that. We just went through most of the show. We had some great callers early on. It's kind of dried up now, but if you'd like to give us a call on Skype at World Crypto Network, all one word, what'd you think about today? We had some great ideas about economics, the economics values of Bitcoin. We talked about the consensus of Bitcoin, the idea that we all agree on these rules, so these rules stay the same. If we all agree to change them, we would hard fork. But if we all agree to hard fork, we'd all go together to whatever the new Bitcoin is. That's currently what we see. Here we go. Hello, caller. You're live on the World Crypto Network. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, I'm Sterling. I'm from New Jersey.
Hi, Sterling. What's on your mind about Bitcoin? Economics or just the price?
Just a little bit about the price. I came in and you were talking about the bear market of 2014.
Mm-hmm.
And what was really on my mind was I saw it a little bit differently. That's when I came in and I kind of, guess what is that term? Sharpen your teeth on. I mean,
sure.
I've been looking at a chart now, Bitstamp in front of me. It took a whole year for it to come down to that $200 level.
Mm-hmm.
Even with, you said a Willy bot and everything, and even more, the two DEA agents and the guy from BTCE that was in Greece, so many things, and we still withheld like a good price then.
200 being a good price, or you mean the $700, $800 good price that it was at for a while?
The 200 low that, hit at 215.
Sure.
2015. Yeah. And then from there, it took another year and we picked back up. Even with all that stuff going on in the background, I still think we did pretty good. And I think we need to remember that when we're thinking about these bear markets.
Oh, yeah, I think we'll be fine. I'm just zooming the chart out now. It's amazing to see how long the flat part is and how short this recent crazy up part and recent down part is. The flat part is a lot more of our history right now than this crazy up. They used to have that great chart where they showed that Bitcoin always went up and there was a diagonal line that you could draw between all the lows. And we can still kind of see it here. But the problem I'm seeing now, and I'm not a big chart guy, is that, yeah, this diagonal line doesn't work anymore because the recent down goes through the diagonal line. So I'm sure that just means we need to build a new line and it's going to go a new direction. But that is a change. So,
yeah.
Well, thanks so much for the call. Anything else on your mind about Bitcoin today?
Yeah, just that now is a good time to keep building infrastructures and getting ATMs out there and building more services that use Bitcoin and help people.
Definitely a good time to build, a good time to start new projects, a good time to continue working on old projects. And yeah, the new slogan that Andreas is trying to push is like buildle or something. It's not the greatest word, but it's a nice idea that you want people to build and you want people to start new projects. And that JW was talking about yesterday how you had to get out of bed and do something that helps your fellow man. And I think that's a good attitude to have. If you're not doing that now, if you're just sitting around, it's not as useful as you could be. And it's strange to go back to the lessons of Richard Hart or to talk about him at all. But when he came on the scene, he had some very interesting videos that I watched with great attention, where he talked about his life and how he had some early successes. And I think he had a little bit of money. And he said he basically just started playing video games every day. and he was going to parties and he was playing video games. I think it's better to do something, and that's, I believe he changed. That's what he's trying to do now. But I pushed answer. Not sure what's going on. We could call you. I don't know. Give us a try. It's got a red mark. I don't know. Oh, do you have a block on you or something? I don't know. Give us a call back, Tupac. I can see your picture of Tupac, but you're writing to me in Cyrillic characters. So this ought to be a really interesting call if we can get you through. I don't know what I was talking about, but oh, Richard Hart, and yeah, he just said he was playing video games all the time and he didn't find it fulfilling, and he wanted to do something good. So he started making these videos where he warned people about gambling. I think he was involved in that. And he also just started talking about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. And then, he, like a lot of people, he kind of drifted off. And I heard he started his own ICO or something like that. There was a lot of drama surrounding that. But I do think there's a lesson in that, if you really, and it's all about adrenaline and science and what human beings are and all that kind of stuff. So you can look into it more if you don't, take my opinion here. But yeah, if they let the rat push the pleasure button all the time, the rat will push the pleasure button until he dies. So you got to watch out for that. You have to mix things together. And then the other pleasure is delayed gratification. Holding Bitcoin for a long time, selling it for more money, that's delayed gratification. That's hard to do, right? You have to basically trick yourself. Like going to the gym, not pleasant, not fun, but if you go for a long time, it works. You have good results. You feel better. You get more healthy. Hopefully, you don't injure yourself. But that's delayed gratification. That's a hard thing for a human to understand, and that's what we're asking you to do with Bitcoin. When you hold for a long time, you're attempting to delay your gratification because you believe Bitcoin will go up. When you're holding for a short amount of time and you need that money to live, you might have to make changes. So, but that's about it. I mean, and also if you're just a trader, a trading type personality and a trading person, you're making moves all the time. It's not a big deal for you to go in or out because that's something you do all the time. If you're more of a holder or a saver, you're kind of holding and you're kind of moving a lot slower than maybe a trader would move. So you might get more gains that way and you might get more losses that way. You can definitely, it can go both ways. But let's see what else we had to read here. I could tell you about Mr. Rogers and his rule for children. But first, I haven't read this yet, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be fantastic. I read another piece by Anthony Bourdain not too long ago where he talked about how the value of sitting down with people and having meals and how much he'd learned from visiting other countries and just talking about them with their food, not getting any controversial topics like politics or religion, but just the things we have in common and sitting down at a dinner table. I thought it was a beautiful article. And I'd like to follow that up with this one. Of course, it's very sad that he's passed away recently. And if you're not feeling well, there are people you can talk to, call a helpline, get some help. You're not alone out there. But let's go ahead and skip past this and let's go straight to the essay, which is entitled The Chorus. And they made the whole thing in italic. Local news. I spend a lot of my life, maybe even most of my life these days, in hotels. And it can be a grim and dispiriting feeling, waking up, at first unsure of where you are, what language they're speaking outside. The room looks much the same as other rooms: TV, coffee maker on the desk, complimentary fruit basket rotting on the table, the familiar suitcase. All too often, particularly in America, I'll walk to the window and draw back the curtains, looking to remind myself where I might be. And it doesn't help at all. The featureless, anonymous skyline that greets me is much the same as the previous city and the city before that. This is not a problem in Chicago. You wake up in Chicago, you pull back the curtain, and you know where you are. You could be nowhere else. You're in a big, brash, muscular, broad-shouldered, MFing city, a metropolis, a completely non-neurotic, ever-moving, big-hearted but cold-blooded machine with millions of moving parts. a beast that will, if disrespected or not taken seriously, roll over you without remorse. It is also, as I like to point out frequently, one of America's last great no bullshit zones. Pomposity, pretentiousness, putting on airs of any kind, douchery, and a lack of a sense of humor will not get you far in Chicago. It is a trait shared with Glasgow, another city I love with a similar working class ethos and history. But those looking for a Chicago show on this week's Parts Unknown will likely be disappointed. There are no Italian beef scenes, no hot dogs, no Chicago blues, and there sure as shit ain't no deep dish pizza. We've done all those things on those other shows, and we might well do them again someday. I like Chicago, so any excuse to come back for me is a good one. It's not a fair show. It's not comprehensive. It's not the best of the city or what you need to know or any of those things. If you're going to cry that I missed an iconic feature of Chicago life or that there are better Italian restaurants than Topo Gigo, you miss the point, and you can move right over to the Travel Channel where somebody is pretending to like deep dish pizza right now. This is a town that grew out of my interest and affection for the ale house in Chicago's Old Town and its proprietor, Bruce Cameron Elliott. Ever since reading on Twitter the feed of the late great Roger Ebert that he read Bruce's blog, Geriatric Genius, every day, I've followed it faithfully. In fact, I went back years tracking previous entries. It is in total a breathtaking work, encompassing the daily lives and deaths and misadventures of the ale house clientele, many of whom, I think it's fair to say, are heavy drinkers. Though cranky, occasionally pugilistic, opinionated, politically incorrect, sexually crude, and an awful speller, Bruce has, without judgment, chronicled the trajectories of a spellbinding array of characters. Whole lives pass, his characters rise and fall, and literally fall apart, as with one character, Reuben Nine Toes, who then went on to become Reuben Eight Toes, and then Four Toes, before dying last year. Bruce's closest associate, Street Jimmy, is a crackhead who's lived on the streets of Chicago, no small feat, for over a decade. And his Greek chorus of bar regulars offer a perspective on Chicago that I thought deserved highlighting. We visit with hip-hop artist Lupe Fiasco and his extraordinary family, with chef Stephanie Izzard, legendary producer Steve Albini, and others. But the beating heart of this show is the ale house and its resident artists. Bruce's paintings of his customers, live and dead, as well as his paintings of politicians from both parties, often depicted being penetrated inappropriately, are world famous. Oh, wow. I urge you to visit his blog and to go back and start a few years back. There is something about the ale house, its willingness to accept all who stagger in its doors, though there is famously a no-shot list, its morbid sense of humor, its never-ending flow of opinions, well-informed and not, its willingness to scrap, that serves for me as a happy metaphor for a city that I love. Anthony Bourdain, a love letter to Chicago, called The Chorus. And I think a good point to end this show on. So thanks so much for watching. We'll be back later with more of Bitcoin Talk Show After Dark. And I'll have to save the reading of my book till then, so keep tuned to hear more of my exciting novella, To Satoshi with Love. And I'm going to recap the story this time. People had some good suggestions in the comments. They said I should, do a little recap and, maybe a little what's going to happen next time. And I think that'd be fun too. So thanks so much for watching. Give us a thumbs up and a share. Subscribe down below. Hit the notification bell. And we'll be back soon. Bye-bye.